Hello, hello, and this is your girl Lisette, and welcome to another episode of My Perspective Mondays. All right. Welcome to Cast. And you know what? We're going to have a very serious topic, but kind of fun topic as well. But we're going to discuss how do you deal with a friend with substance abuse issues, okay? How do you deal with that? I mean, it may seem easy, but we're going to discuss this today. So, what about you? Jump on in there, Honor. How do you deal with a friend that has a substance abuse problem?
Oh, well, one of my friends, he likes to drink, and he called me once upon a time, and I didn't know that he had been drinking. So, like the questions I was getting, and like the conversation was like they'll always say, somebody who is drunk is telling the truth and nothing but the truth. So it's just like, okay, let me just try to be here for this person. I know that they're currently out of town. I really didn't really know how to handle that because it's never really happened before. So I just made sure that I stayed on the phone with him. I'm just like, where are you right now? Just asking questions. Where's your hotel? Do you know where your room is? Do you have somebody with you that I don't know if somebody's watching you. I just want to make sure that you're okay. So I try to stay on the phone as long as I can just to make sure that he was good.
I'm really excited about doing this topic today. So, I'm just going to rewind it back a little bit and ask you this instead. How do you know when a friend has a substance abuse problem? Let me ask you that first.
Something that is very consistent. Um, use that call for instance again. That was the first time that I had gotten a call from that person, but it became a regular thing. Like almost every Friday, I was getting a call from this person because they were drinking and they needed somebody to talk to. So I really just tried to carve out some time just to make sure they're okay. Understand that they're really just trying to wind down from the week and have a good time, but making sure that they're not endangering themselves.
If a person has had legal troubles as a result of substance abuse, that's not an ironclad indicator. That's one indicator. If you Google, you can look for indicators. Look, that you may have a drinking or drug problem if, and one of those ifs might be if you had some legal troubles, if you've lost a job, or your employment has been affected as a result of substance abuse. Now, anybody can make a mistake one time, all right, with getting too drunk or whatever.
Right.
But if you look for those kind of indicators, and the thing about this could be a very heartbreaking topic for a lot of people. We can also, dark humor gets us through life because the world of drugs and addiction is a very crazy one. And I heard it explained this way: that in the world of drugs, your best friend is a person who steals your cocaine and then helps you look for it. That's the kind of world you're stepping in. That it's nonsensical in a lot of ways because the clear thinking kind of goes out the window, both if you're a relative of the person and the person themselves that has a problem.
What about you, Abby?
I haven't had too much to experience with people who have like just abused any substance. I am pretty young, so like I haven't really experienced that, and I think that it's definitely owed to my parents because I know that they definitely they don't want me to see that side of it too early. But unfortunately, being in a public high school, it definitely has exposed me to a lot of things that should not be happening at all. But I see a lot of people who actually depend on stuff in their life. Like they depend on nicotine or they depend on weed or they depend on any sort of drug or substance. And it's horrible that they do that, but it is so common now that it's almost something I'm used to dealing with, which feels like I shouldn't be used to it. But like in my
Well,
experience,
it's an unfortunate part of life that most of us will experience in some way, either directly or indirectly, whether it's us or a relative. So,
Yeah, I
but
think it's
there's
often
no
used as like
there
a
are no easy
coping
ways to deal with it.
mechanism.
Go ahead, Liz. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I
It
cut you off. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Alika.
In my opinion, it's often used as like a coping mechanism for some other underlying thing going on in their life, whether it's like mental health or something at home. Yeah. So it's usually just, I don't know. It's like a sign for something else that's going on. That's bothering them.
Probably depends on who you
Usually
ask on that one.
just-
I've heard it explained both ways, not to get it over my head here, but sometimes it's a secondary problem like you described, and some describe it though as a primary problem. In other words, there's that,
Yeah.
there's other stuff too, but that's the primary problem. But again, that the experts can tell you that better than I can.
Darian, how do you know when a friend has a substance abuse problem? And mind you, it does not have to be an illegal substance. It can be a legal drug. Okay, so but how do you know when they have a substance abuse problem?
Well, like every time you hang with somebody, they constantly doing the same thing, and they know you don't do that, and they like trying to get you to like do the same thing. You told them numerous times, I don't do that, but then they keep on saying, hey, let's do this, let's do that. Like, oh, one day I'm gonna get you high, I'm gonna get you, stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
If a person has a need to get drunk or get high by themselves, if they get drunk or get high at odd times of the day, like it's one thing to get drunk or high on Friday night. I'm not saying it's right or good, but it's something else to be that way on Monday morning before you go to school or work. Those are some indicators of a person that may have a problem right there. You've got a lot of things around that too.
I've had an experience with multiple of my friends who will smoke before they come to school, and it's like it's also like what are you doing that's so irresponsible? It's like it is like it's whatever, it's their choice. I'm not gonna judge them for it. It's their life, but it's also once I've gotten to know them, it's definitely there's been underlying stuff, and it's horrible to think that I can't help them because I'm a person who wants to help everybody. So just understanding it kind of gave me a different perspective on their life and why they even would fall into that. And like it was just me, I'm like super psychological. So like when I saw that, I was like, I can see other people and what they're trying to hide. I think Lita was saying that, where they're really trying to use it as a coping mechanism, and it's terrible. It starts so young now. Like these kids are starting at like 9, 10, 11, 12, like in their preteens. Like you haven't even had a childhood yet, and you are turning to substance because you see all of these older people doing it and falling into that because they're going through a lot of things, and they just it's so crazy.
Sometimes sometimes it's hard to hang around people or that that has a substance abuse problem. I don't think they know the pressure that they put friends and loved ones in, watching them go through the problem.
John, we've had a question raised at the bottom of our screen. It says, what do you do once you're I know we're not supposed to read this, but what do you do once you have identified this in your friend? Then what do you do? That's one of the questions.
Well, let me put on my glasses and maybe I'll.
So you have a friend or a loved one who has we recognize it when we see it now. What do we do?
In my opinion, you should always let them know firstly that they're loved and supported unconditionally.
Right.
But you have to put their health and their interests, their best interest, before their feelings, regardless of how they think they can live their life. If it's hurting them physically or mentally, it's got to go.
I say start with with small steps first, like another coping method instead of that going straight to that, like something like alternative.
Well, I think you got the first
substance, yeah.
You first got to get them to admit that they got a problem for you can help them. Because if they don't admit they got a problem, they'll just kiss it off. Hey, just like like it was on the screen just a while ago. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. I mean, what's wrong with me? But they have to admit that they have a problem.
And I think it's really hard for people to do that. Like it's hard because you don't know what's happening to you. It's like being in love, I guess. It's like you're so blinded by everything that you don't see what's right in front of your face. And you think it's almost normal because it's been so constant in your life.
There are a couple of cliches that apply there, Abby. One is you can't see the forest for the trees, or when you're in the eye of the hurricane, you don't really know what's going on around you, And so that applies not only to the person who's got the problem, but the person who's close to the loved one who has a problem. It's very hard for a person to admit they're an alcoholic or an addict. It's also very hard for a person to admit that my father, my wife, my husband, my son, my daughter is an addict or an alcoholic. And it's a strange thing because it seems like everyone else knows this except you. But I don't.
Well, but that's the ugly part that sometimes you don't want to admit.
I tell you that
can be manipulative.
Yeah. I think
That's
They don't
true.
want you to see. It's deceiving. It's like, it's crazy.
But just like Mark said, it's crazy, but it's true. I mean, everybody knows it, but you. I mean, everybody can see it, but you're the only one that can't see it. And even when I was in high school, also, to you high schoolers, or maybe you teens, in the chat here, it's interesting because some of my friends try to get me to go out and kind of like dodge a little bit in the 30s. No, it wasn't no 30s.
No,
No.
the
I
20s,
have
you're
never.
in prohibition in the 20s, John.
It wasn't in the 30s, but I remember, they would duck school to go and do some drugs, but I'm so glad that I didn't do it, because they got addicted to that stuff. They got into prostitution. They did some things, and they had a hard time getting back, and they had to take the spiritual way to get back.
If I may, let me shine in something, and I'll let Honor take it away, all right, if I may. But and also Darian too. But he mentioned something a while ago, and I don't disagree with what he said, but it just reminded me to say this, and that is, you can't advise someone, you can't give someone advice and expect that to take care of the problem. Here, I suggest you do this, I suggest you do that, unless that suggestion is to seek professional help or to attend a 12-step program. All right. And if it's a loved one, if it's a husband, wife, because people may be struggling with this very thing, a husband, wife, child, whatever, you can't nag or browbeat that person into stopping. And the best thing one can do, and somebody said a while ago that they should take care of themselves. But if you're the loved one, you're the friend, you got to take care of yourself too. Because
Absolutely.
you can't help someone else if you're not well yourself. It's like on an airplane when they tell you, if those oxygen masks drop, if you got a small child with you, you put your own mask on first and then put theirs on, because you can't help them unless your mask is on. So
That's good.
one of
That's
our other
a good-
gentlemen here to chime in here. I've talked enough for a while, so Darian, Honor, chime in there.
What about Darian?
So it's pretty much like you can't water a tree that don't want to grow. So like if you telling him or her, like, hey, I don't think this is good for you, and you trying to like help them out, and they still like, well, I don't think it's a problem. It's like at this point, it's like nothing really you can't do but just love them and accept them for who they are, and pray and hope that they get the treatment that they need.
Yeah, because when they need the support, like they really need the support, you got to be there, and it's like a
just be there when
24-hour neighborhood watch thing.
Well, I've even found myself, maybe even hiding stuff that they're addicted to, that they are, they're trying to abuse. I'll hide this, or hide, I won't drive them past the liquor place, or maybe we won't go down this section of town, because you can easily find some stuff. So you'll be trying to hide things from them, so in a little way to help them.
Doesn't work. Just flat out does not work.
And I know it's hard to hide things from a crackhead,
Well,
but
he's right.
believe it or not, when you love people that have that problem, you would try, even though you can't. You would definitely try, because you love them, and it's very difficult. Sometimes I don't think they know what they're putting their friends and maybe family through. They have no idea.
I don't
No
even-
idea whatsoever.
Well,
it's not just hiding. I think it's also like avoiding topics, because I know that like some stuff I won't say around friends who I know they're sensitive to it, and even if they're not sensitive now, they were, and I want to be like conscious of that. And like, it's just like little things, like not bringing up maybe past things that have gone on, or like maybe bringing up situations that people have been in, and you don't want to bring that up because it could trigger them in a way into maybe having a relapse or having something that happens. They feel they need it now.
Let me jump in and then go to, because we were going to go to Honor a while ago. We didn't, but I'll disagree a little bit with what some people said just now. And yeah, you got to show the person that you're there for them, that you love them. All right. But if they're pulling you down, okay, to the point where you can't help them anymore, you've hit all the booze you can, you drive this part of town, that part of town. At some point, it's okay to disengage, and sometimes literally, sometimes figuratively divorce yourself from that person, because otherwise they're going to destroy you. And sometimes that's the only way they can get the message as well. But Honor, what do you think?
And this is good, Honor. This is good. But I was thinking how that yes, divorce yourself from them bringing you down, but at the same time, never divorce yourself from caring, maybe for praying for them or for encouraging them, try to get help. Never divorce yourself from that. What about you, Honor? How do you deal with someone with that kind of abusive problem?
It's unfortunately it takes like something very very serious, like a jeopardy in their health, for them to get that final wake up call, or somebody that they care about that they've noticed that they've hurt because of maybe like they've been smoking for years, but that secondhand smoke has now affected their child or somebody that they care about. So until that point comes across, then it's not anything that they pay attention to. I don't really have much experience with trying to guide somebody away from that. I don't know. They have to want it. That's something that they generally have to want to do, and they have to find that reason. I don't really know if it's anything that we can do other than support them and just let them know that we're here. Even like what Mr. Mark was saying, you can't necessarily give all of yourself to somebody who's not listening to it. They have to figure out what they can do for themselves.
Well, sometimes the phrase is sometimes they have to hit bottom.
Right.
That's what you said. And everybody's bottom, if you will, is different. Unfortunately, some people's bottom is death. And personally, I think we're getting off the subject a little bit. I think it's a little bit harder for some of these rich celebrities to hit their bottom because they always have money coming in, and they're always surrounded by people who tell them everything they do is great. If a person is poor, doesn't have money,
themselves because they know that they can enable themselves.
Yeah.
I think that it was interesting that you brought that up, Mark, because I think that it can almost be easier for celebrities to fall into that because it's constantly being thrown at them, and they can hit rock bottom because they're so stressed, they don't know what's going on, there's so much happening that they just fall. They don't know what to do. It's hard for them to know who their real friends are. They don't know what situation to be in. It's just very unique to them, and I don't think that a lot of people can understand that. And we've had documentaries about, I think it was Bohemian Rhapsody was about Freddie Mercury and about how he basically hit his bottom and just how his experience was, but you don't see that side of it.
Well, Robin Williams once said that cocaine is God's way of telling you you're making too much money.
But some people really can actually inherit this from family. I mean, they see their father was a alcoholic or a crack user. His father was, and so it's just lingering. Just generation to generation. It's like a curse of some sort. But but we're gonna wrap it up and do some final thoughts. Because this is very good. Because I know there's some people out there that really need to know some encouraging words and what they might can do. So we're gonna do our final thoughts. Who wants to jump in there?
In case you do happen to just feel like you're being brought down and you do happen to disengage, I think it's kind of old school, but it's pretty much making a feel good playlist for them, so they know that this came from you, and that they can always listen to it regardless of time, location, or whatever. They always have you with them, in those little earbuds, empowering them, telling them that they don't need that, they are perfect and fully sufficient by themselves, and they don't have to depend on all those things that are bringing them down, whether it's toxicity like love or drugs and stuff like that.
That's good.
I think that just some final thoughts I have about it. I honestly think that you can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped themselves. I think that's what a lot of people are getting at here, is that they really have to want to help themselves, and a lot of times they don't want to because they don't see the problem. And I think that, it can't help bringing up the problem, but sometimes even then they're I don't have anything else. And so I think that if you can kind of help them find other ways and other coping mechanisms instead of the thing that they're depending on, because they may see it, but they may see it as there's nothing else to do. They have no other option. So they're using that as their only other option. And so providing with that support that we've been talking about, and providing them with that other options, and knowing that they have that around them and they're not just going to fall. They're not going to hit their bottom. But I mean, once you hit the bottom, the only way you can go is up, honestly. So I think that's the best thing to say.
Honor?
I feel like, to piggyback off that, it's unfortunate that sometimes people have to hit rock bottom, but I think it's very important that they know once they get to the bottom that we can then be more of use to them, because now they want to try to get back up, and that can help. We can then help at that point, because then they've chosen, I don't want to be here anymore. I've lost my job. I've lost this. I've lost all these things. Where are my friends if we were going to be here? Because now you're ready.
And I want to say, like what Mark said, like some people bottom is like death. So like by the time that happens, like you be trying to stop them before they get to that point. But certain ones, it's just like you do all you can do to help them, and then they just don't listen. So they just have to come to like a breaking point. And if they don't come to that breaking point before that happen, because we only get one life. So
yeah, nothing's final until death. So you can always help.
Mark, did you go?
Yeah, just what's finally. I know I've talked a lot this time, but you can't control someone else's addiction. I mean, they really can't control it themselves. You sure can't control someone else's addiction. But if anybody out there is looking for help, let me just throw this in. I know you've heard these words before, but I'll say them again: Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Al-Anon for families or loved ones of people with problems, and Nar-Anon, same thing. All right, and again, there's no magical cure for addiction. There's no such thing. Very often, it's a lifelong struggle for people. But and it's one that they can't cure it by themselves, and you can't cure it for them.
Yeah, this is really good. I also consult a spiritual leader as well, but I'm just saying that, to you out there, you may not think it's a problem, but you don't even know the effect that you are, putting on your family, your friends that really love you. And just like they said, if you don't see a need to change, you're not going to change. But when you hit that bottom, and if you keep going, you will, just know that the only way up is up. So we just want you to know, we don't want to talk down to anyone. We just want to let you know that you can make it, and you can get up, and you can kick this.
Yeah,
and we really, you really can, because you got people that love you to help you. But anyway, we thank you for listening in, and don't forget to subscribe. And please put your comments down there. And if you got some ideas for some shows, let us know. And we will be seeing you soon. So you have a wonderful day. All right.
Bye, guys.
You can kick it.